Okay, so there's this moment that happens to every single person, probably multiple times a week, where someone says something, a word, a concept, a phrase, and you nod. You go, yeah, totally. Maybe you even add something. Oh, for sure, especially with the whole situation. And then the conversation moves on, and you are safe, and nobody found out. Found out what exactly? That you have absolutely no idea what that word means. Never did. You've been nodding at it for years like it's an old acquaintance you're too embarrassed to admit you've never actually met. And the wild thing is, it's not just you. It's not even mostly the obscure stuff. The words and concepts that the most people are faking their way through are the ones that come up constantly. The ones that sound so basic that admitting you don't understand them feels like admitting you didn't learn to read. So, let's fix that, quietly, between us. Starting with one that might genuinely annoy you when you realize it, the economy. Not like a weird edge case of the economy itself, the main one, the one everyone talks about every single day. When someone says the economy is doing well or the economy is struggling, what does that actually mean? Like mechanically, what is the thing that is doing well or struggling? Most people, if you really push them, would say something like, it's how much money there is, or it's whether businesses are making money, or it's like the vibe of money. And look, that last one is closer than it sounds, but none of those are really it. Here's the honest version. The economy is the total system of how a group of people, in this case an entire country, produces things, sells things, buys things, and distributes the resources from all of that. That's it. It's a system, not a number, not a place, not a mood, a system of activity. When someone says the economy is doing well, what they almost always mean is that the GDP is growing. GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product, which is the total dollar value of all goods and services a country produces in a given period. If more stuff is being made and sold, the number goes up. Economy doing well. If less stuff is being made and sold, the number goes down. Economy struggling. So far, so good. Except here's the part that silently breaks people when they actually think about it. GDP going up doesn't mean everyone has more money. It means the total output is higher. Those are not the same thing. A country's GDP can grow while most of the people in it are getting financially squeezed, because the growth might be concentrated in a slice of industries or a slice of earners. The headline number goes up. The vibe of everyone you know does not change accordingly. This is why you can hear, the economy is the strongest it's been in decades, and simultaneously have a grocery bill that has somehow become a moral experience. Both things can be true. The number went up. Your number did not. That's the economy. You now understand it better than you did 3 minutes ago, and also better than most adults do, which is a slightly uncomfortable thing to realize. Okay, next one. And this one is more personal. Credit scores. Everyone has one. Almost nobody knows what it actually measures. And because it is attached to so much, whether you get an apartment, what interest rate you get on a loan, sometimes whether you get a job, the fact that most people are operating on pure vibes about it is genuinely a little alarming. Here's what most people think a credit score measures. Whether you're good with money, responsible, financially trustworthy, like a report card for being an adult. Here's what it actually measures. How profitable you are likely to be for lenders. That is a different thing. Your credit score is a number generated by private companies. The main ones are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, based on a formula that predicts how likely you are to repay debt. It is not a measure of your net worth. It is not a measure of whether you save money. You could have $50,000 in savings and a mediocre credit score. You could be technically broke and have an excellent one. The thing the score is optimizing for is whether you will borrow money and pay it back reliably and on time. That's it. Because a person who pays back debt is a person lenders make money off of. A person who never borrows anything is, from a lender's perspective, an unknown quantity. The system doesn't reward being good with money. It rewards being a reliable participant in the debt system, which is why one of the most counterintuitive things about credit scores is that paying off all your debt and closing your accounts can actually hurt your score. The system notices you're no longer actively demonstrating that you're a borrower who repays. It gets nervous. It docks you for it. This is not a conspiracy. It's just the logic of the thing if you follow it honestly. The score was built by and for lenders. Of course it optimizes for lender profit. The slightly eerie part is that it's become so entangled with regular adult life, housing, jobs, car insurance in some states, that it now functions like a social credit metric for things that have nothing to do with lending. But the formula doesn't know that. It's still just asking, would a bank make money off this person? The good news is that once you understand what it actually measures, you can optimize for it intentionally instead of guessing. Pay on time. Keep your credit utilization low, meaning don't use more than about 30% of your available credit limit at once. Don't close old accounts if you can help it. Don't apply for a bunch of new credit in a short period. That's genuinely most of it. Not because it makes you, quote, good with money, because it makes you look like a reliable participant in the borrowing system, which is a weirder and more accurate way to think about it. Moving on. Inflation. You know what it means in the broadest sense. Prices go up. Got it. But the part that almost nobody actually understands, the part that changes how you think about money if you get it, is why. The story most people have heard is something like, too much money gets printed, money becomes worth less, prices go up. And that can be part of it, but it's not usually the main driver, and treating it like the whole story leaves you confused every time inflation happens in a way that doesn't fit the narrative. Inflation, at its core, is what happens when demand for goods and services outpaces the supply of them. When more people want a thing than there are things available, sellers can charge more. That's one engine. Another engine is cost-push inflation, when the cost of making things goes up, like when energy prices spike or supply chains break, and producers pass those costs to consumers. A third is expectations. If everyone believes prices are going to rise, workers ask for higher wages to keep up, businesses raise prices to cover the wages, and the belief essentially causes itself. Inflation can be self-fulfilling in a way that's almost philosophically annoying. The Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States, tries to manage this by adjusting interest rates. Higher interest rates make borrowing more expensive, which slows down spending, which cools demand, which slows inflation. Lower rates do the opposite. This is why you keep hearing about the Fed raising or lowering rates, and why it ripples into mortgages, car loans, business investment, basically everything. Here's what nobody says out loud enough. A small, steady amount of inflation is considered desirable. The Fed targets around 2% per year because a growing economy needs prices to inch up. Deflation, prices falling, sounds great until you realize it causes people to delay spending because they expect things to be cheaper tomorrow, which tanks demand, which tanks businesses, which is how you get a spiral nobody wants. Some amount of inflation is the intended state of the system, which means the goal is never to eliminate it. It's to keep it in a range that doesn't hurt people. When it jumps out of that range, as it did in 2021 and 2022, that's when you feel it personally. The grocery bill, the rent, the, wait, this used to cost how much? Energy at the checkout. That's the system running hotter than the intended setting, for a combination of reasons that economists will debate for decades. Supply chains breaking, stimulus money hitting an economy that couldn't absorb it fast enough, energy prices spiking, all of it layered. You already lived through it. Now you understand what you were living through. Let's go somewhere completely different. Algorithms. Specifically, the algorithms that decide what you see. On Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you spend time that you'd prefer not to admit to. What does the algorithm actually do? Most people think of it as a mysterious force that either blesses or punishes you. Creators talk about it like a weather system or a moody god. Even people who don't make content use it as shorthand for why I keep seeing the same types of videos, without really knowing what's happening underneath. Here's the surprisingly unsexy truth. An algorithm, in this context, is a system that predicts what you will engage with next, based on what you've engaged with before, in order to keep you in the app as long as possible. That's it. It's a prediction engine optimizing for your time. It doesn't know what's true. It doesn't know what's good for you. It doesn't have aesthetic preferences. It has one metric it cares about: engagement, watch time, clicks, comments, shares, saves. The more you interact with a type of content, the more it shows you that type, because its model of you says, this person keeps biting on this, keep offering it. The implications of that, if you follow them, are pretty significant. The algorithm doesn't distinguish between things that engage you because they're delightful and things that engage you because they make you angry. Both spike your watch time. Both keep you scrolling. Outrage and joy look identical to the system. So the system, over time, learns that strong emotions drive retention, and it optimizes accordingly. Not because anyone decided to make you miserable, but because the metric doesn't know the difference. This is why your feed can feel like it's slowly learning your most vulnerable spots. It kind of is. Not maliciously, just mechanically. The machine found what makes you stay, and it keeps pressing that button. The useful thing to take from this: the algorithm is a mirror with a slight amplification effect. It reflects your engagement patterns back at you, but louder. If you want your feed to change, you have to deliberately engage with different things and signal, through actual clicks, watches, saves, that your patterns are different now. It adjusts, just slowly. And it will always be pulling toward whatever got the most reaction from you historically, which means intentionality about what you give attention to is the only lever you actually have. Not a conspiracy, not magic, a prediction engine doing its job a little too well. One more. This one's the oldest fake understanding on the list, and it might also be the one that matters most: the stock market. Specifically, why does the stock market go up and down, and what does it actually represent? Most people know that buying a stock means buying a small ownership stake in a company. That part's fine. What breaks down is why the price of that stake fluctuates the way it does, sometimes wildly, sometimes in ways that seem completely disconnected from whether the actual company is doing well. Here's the thing that restructures it. The stock market is not a measure of how companies are doing right now. It's a measure of what investors think companies will be worth in the future. Stock prices are forward-looking. When a company reports strong profits and the stock still drops, it's because investors were expecting even stronger profits, and the reality disappointed the prediction. The baseline wasn't doing well. The baseline was doing as well as we already priced in. Under that threshold, even good is bad. This is why the market can fall during a strong economy and rise during a terrible one. In a recession, if investors believe the recovery will be fast, they'll start buying before any positive data shows up. The market prices in the future, not the present. Which means what you're watching, in real time, is millions of people updating their collective bets about what happens next, not reacting to what's happening now. And this is also why the market is so vulnerable to narrative. Not just data, story. If enough influential people say a sector is the future, money flows in, the price goes up, and the prediction partially creates itself. If enough people believe a crash is coming, they sell, the price falls, and the belief partially creates the outcome. It's a system where confidence and fear are causal, not just reactive. The practical translation? The market going up is not straightforwardly, things are good, and the market going down is not straightforwardly, things are bad. Both of those interpretations are too simple to be useful. The market is a live, crowdsourced forecast about the future that is being constantly revised and is partly self-fulfilling. Useful to know about, genuinely difficult to outsmart, and completely fine to participate in simply through index funds and time, without pretending you can predict what the crowd will believe next week. Nobody can. The people who say they can are, mostly, people who were right once. Here's the thing that ties all of this together. The actual point underneath the economics and the algorithms and the credit scores. Every one of these systems, the economy, inflation, credit scores, the algorithm, the stock market, was built by people, for specific purposes, with specific incentives baked in. None of them are neutral. None of them are natural laws. They're human constructions that got so big and so embedded in daily life that they started to feel like weather, like forces you experience but don't question. And the reason most people don't understand them isn't because they're too complicated. It's because nobody explained what they're for, what problem they were built to solve, who benefits from how they work. Once you know that, once you understand the incentive structure underneath the thing, it snaps into focus. The credit score is weird until you know it was built for lenders. The stock market is chaotic until you know it prices futures, not presents. The algorithm is confusing until you know it has one job. The nodding along isn't because people are dumb. It's because these things got handed to us already running, with no instructions, and the instructions would have changed how we interacted with them, which is maybe why they weren't included. You've been living inside systems designed by other people to serve other people's goals, with just enough complexity baked in that questioning them feels presumptuous. It isn't. Understanding them doesn't make you cynical. It makes you harder to fool, which is, genuinely, the most useful thing a person can be in a world that produces new things to be confused about faster than any of us can keep up. The next time someone says, the economy is doing well, you're going to know what question to ask. The next time your credit score changes and you don't know why, you're going to know what it actually measures. The next time the algorithm serves you something that makes you feel a way you didn't expect to feel, you're going to know why. You weren't bad at this stuff. You just never got the real explanation.